Mmm, delicious onions. You can see the yellow horn made it through winter. It did get a little nibbled by the rabbits, and this one got nibbled all the way down. That's what rabbits do around here. They destroy things. And this is that Siberian beach pea, and I think I'm going to transplant these out to near the hoop house, like on the north side of the hoop house, to block some of the prevailing winds that come through there and hit that hoop house pretty hard. Since this supposedly grows big and makes a good windbreak, I'm going to try it out there and see how it works. It also produces a like a little pea that is edible apparently, but I don't think it's mostly used for that. It's mostly used, I think, as a windbreak. Alright, so I'm in the hoop house, obviously, as you can see, and I've got my first harvest of spinach coming on. Can't remember which one's which, but there's one called Space and another called Tai, and this is the line here. You can see that this one is not quite as developed as that one is, so that one's a faster growing one. It was also drier in this portion of the bed because it's higher, it's uphill, so downhill's that way, and so I'm probably going to harvest mostly from there. But I've also got lots of volunteer greens coming up in here around the hoop house. I've got chickweed, I've got lettuces that self-seeded, I've got claytonia, and I've got I can't remember, I think it's called Ruby Streaks mustard that's come up, also volunteer in here. So it's just kind of my pick of greens, whatever I want. It's kind of nice because I don't have much of the hoop house here planted. And yet another green that I have in here is lamb's quarters, and it's a purple variety of lamb's quarters that's come up volunteer. Found it in my garden over by the parking lot several years ago, and then I saved the seeds of it, planted it out here, and it's kind of taken hold. A lot of the lamb's quarters that I find coming up in this hoop house are this pink variety. This is really like primo spinach right here. This is the tender young spinach. You can also just harvest it by the leaves, and that sometimes the way that I do it, just to harvest specific leaves instead of cutting the whole plant off. Gives it a little bit more strength that way for generating new leaves than if you cut them all off. Yesterday I was over by my garden shed, which has a couple of birdhouse gourds on the back of it, and I usually put them out for wren season because they make nests, and I made the holes small enough that wrens can fit in them but not house sparrows. And I was wondering if it's wren season. I hadn't seen any until just now, and I see they always come into the hoop house here and they build little nests in the tubes of the posts of this hoop house. So I just saw some flying in. They're a little bit fearful of me being in here, but they've got this beautiful song and they make so much noise for such little birds. They're also very aggressive, not aggressive, but they're just like able to defend themselves against house sparrows, one of the few birds that can do that, and they're about half the size of a house sparrow. I just love wrens. I was concerned about my figs potentially having died over the winter because it was so cold, but I see at least this one has some new shoots coming on it. The other one doesn't, and then there's even smaller ones over there. And I don't see any signs of life on those ones either. But at least this one survived, and I did order 2 new fig plants this year of a different variety. I think this one's Turkey. Well, I had a 6-gallon bucket full of spinach, and I'm trying to decide if I should blanch it and freeze it, or if I should sell it. It's my second cutting. The first cutting I didn't get nearly as much. I probably only got like 1.5 pounds or so, and this is probably like 7 or 8 pounds. And I could sell it probably at our weekly meeting. Just not sure if I want to do that. Spinach can be hard to come by later in the season, and sometimes I like to have some frozen spinach to make spanakopita, like in some other spinach dishes. Like you can put it in omelet, you can put it in what do you call those things? A quiche? Yeah, quiche. You can put it in a quiche. This has always been my bulk salad spinner. So basically, just wash all the spinach, dunk it in water, and then I throw it into one of these onion bags, and then spin it around outside. Works really well. And if you haven't watched my other video about my water system, this water that comes out of my faucet is rainwater. I have a cistern on the side of my house that collects the rainwater, and then I have a sediment filter under the sink here. It filters the sediment out of the water, and then if I want drinking water, I have a drinking water filter as well. But the water tends to stay perfectly clean enough in my cistern. It's cool temperature. And it's good clean water. So that's what I'm washing the spinach with. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link to it in the description below. Perfectly dry, or dry enough for storage in a fridge. So this is an entirely local breakfast. I've got eggs from the critters, my spinach that I just harvested, some homemade mozzarella, garlic, and from last year, and walking onions from just harvested them a couple days ago.